I was very honored for Lieutenant Colonel Lance Hamilton to be the guest speaker at my retirement ceremony. Lance and Caryn Hamilton met in college. Caryn was a cheerleader. Lance and his brother Harry were both academic All-American defensive backs. Harry played 8 seasons for the New York Jets and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lance was drafted by Bill Parcells and the New York Giants, but Lance's knee was injured in training camp. He never played in the NFL. Instead, he went to Yale Law School, then to the United States Army.
Let me start by saying, praise God from whom all blessings flow. I hope by the time I'm finished speaking, you will at least understand or appreciate why I, Lance Hamilton, would start by saying, praise God from whom all blessings flow. Call it luck, call it happenstance. I prefer to call it divine intervention. But in my opinion, Lance Hamilton and the Hamilton family, in connection with Dr. Fowler and the Fowler family, would not exist but for some divine intervention. Mark, Cindy, as I mentioned to you the other day, I am completely humbled. My family and I are humbled that you would even invite us to be a part of such a momentous occasion in your life. Moreover, I am thrilled, and as you both know, a little nervous about being asked to participate in an official capacity. Now, I've been to a lot of retirement ceremonies, but I've never participated in one. So you may not know, but I am a lawyer. So what is any type A uptight lawyer do? Why don't you research real quick? Find out that retirement ceremonies you're supposed to inject some humor. I don't know where I'm not funny. I don't know very many funny lawyers. I'm supposed to be serious, and that I think I can be. I'm supposed to talk about the contributions that I've made to the organization. You see, I'm not quite in the same uniform as the rest of you. I'm in the Army. So I don't know everything about the Navy or the protocols and everything about Dr. Fowler. But what I do know is one of the things they talking about the character, the person. I don't know everything about him. I know how he has impacted me and my life. And it wasn't until the other day when I spoke to me and Cindy on the phone, and I said, so, what's all the procedures? What am I supposed to say? I'm really having a rough time trying to come up with what to say. And Mark, in his very calming fashion, said, Lance, I just want you to say what you want. Okay, take your time and just tell your story. That didn't actually make me that much less anxious. It still made me feel a little uncomfortable. How do I pay tribute to Mark Fowler and give him the appropriate recognition, the praise, all the laudatory comments that he deserves at a time like this? How do you honor a man that has given 28 years of his life, almost 29 years of his life in service to his country? How do I pay tribute to a doctor who, I know I'm talking to other doctors, so I'm sure you could, that's what I'm saying, who has probably touched more lives than most of us will in our lifetime, or influenced more lives? How do I, Lance Hamilton, pay tribute to you? Come around and say this, ladies and gentlemen. 14 years ago, almost 14 years ago, this man, on one faith-filled morning, through God's blessing and his willingness to let God influence him, gave me a family. He saved my wife's life and my son's life. How do I pay tribute to you? Not only that, about a year and a half later, he performed a surgery on my wife that allowed her, or gave her a chance at having more children. I am here today, ladies and gentlemen, with my wife, Caryn, and my 3 sons, because of Dr. Fowler and the fact that he accepted God's gifts and became a doctor. I would not be here to pay honor to this man. I don't know how to pay tribute to that. What I can do, Mark, is look you in the eye and say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bear with me. This might happen to a few other times as far as me trying to get through this. There's not enough words, not enough time, not enough emotion for me to truly express what he means to me. The honor, the respect, the love, the appreciation I have for him and his family. I'll understand that more as I go through and talk to you, because his whole family was there and a part, and has been a part of our life ever since 26 August 1998, and will remain a part of our life forever. I kept asking myself, what are you going to do with this? And finally, listening to Mark saying, say what you want to say. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best. Yeah, which is what I feel Dr. Fowler gave every day as a doctor. He gave his best. He gave it all. And he put his heart into it. So, where do I begin? Believe it or not, I have to go back to 1987. Call it luck, call it happenstance, call it divine intervention. That was when the roots of love first began for Caryn and me. We knew each other since freshmen in college, but it was after graduating, we sort of liked each other the whole time. After graduating, going off to our initial respective careers, that both fell through. And we ended up back at the same college and we bumped into each other. Where was Dr. Fowler at that time? Mark Fowler, as you heard, was a nuke, an engineer on a submarine. And through some unfortunate events, lost a child. And through that experience, watch my words here, I'm going through a bunch of doctors. He had an experience what, bear with me, I'm a lawyer, I call calluses, for lack of a better expression. I say, lack of bedside manners on the part of some doctors. Okay? And having to go through that experience was trying on him at a time when you needed a doctor to have very good bedside manners. That impacted him. And sometime, and I don't know, he'll have to fill in some of the gaps. This is the story that I understand and that I know of Mark Fowler. At some point in time, my vision is him on a submarine one night waking up and just saying, God giving him the message, you can do that. You can be a doctor and have more compassion, less callousness, less matter-of-factness about what you do on a daily basis, knowing the impact it had on him. Now, I don't know about you, but I was sort of planned out with my life and knowing, okay, well, I'll go to law school, I have to apply here, I have to do this. This is a man who, I think, 1-2 years of education, saying, I'm going to be a doctor. And he applies to med school. Now, when I applied to law school, I applied to 8 or 9 different law schools. Mark applied to one school. God knew something because he got in. And God knew that one day he would work through him to perform a miracle. So, now, jump back to Caryn. God also knew that Mark needed time to become a doctor, starting where he did. So Caryn and I engaged in a 7.5-year courtship. Mark Fowler enough time to go through this. And Caryn and I finally got married, and being a lawyer, I had everything planned out. We'll wait 5 years before we start having children. We'll enjoy the jet set life, working at a big law firm at the time, and actually we drove across the state, Tampa, Florida. Life is good. Then we made a decision, you know what, life isn't that good. We're not getting time together. We decided that we did want to start a family, but not in this environment. So I opted to leave the law firm, leave my head exam for what I left the law firm for the pay cut I took to come into the military as an attorney. But I did. And now working in personnel and assigning company grade officers and telling them where they have to go. I remember my conversation with the assignments officer. I said, I want to go to Fort Meade, Maryland. Well, we want you to go here, we want you to go here. No, I'm going to Fort Meade, Maryland. If you don't let me go to Fort Meade, Maryland, I'm not coming in. If someone told me that on the phone today, I'd be like, this is the military, it doesn't work like that. But God knew that I was supposed to be at Fort Meade, Maryland. And that's where I was assigned. Our 5-year plan didn't work either as far as when we were going to wait to have children. Probably because God knew that Mark would probably finish his residency or fellowship. I'm still learning that whole process and would have been gone. My wife found out that they say that if you don't have children now, you won't have children. We were blessed. She became pregnant. First appointment now. Mark is finishing up his schooling or is in his residency or fellowship, I'm not sure at the time, at Bethesda, National Naval Medical Center. That's where our first appointment was. Now, being the completely calm, low-key lawyer that I am, I went into the first appointment, and that was a joke, I'm clearly not. Yes. I went into that first appointment only to find out that there would be the way they structured it at Bethesda at the time, you get to see the doctor that was there when you go in. I wasn't having any of that. And I was grilling, I don't remember her name, all I know is Barbara. Barbara Fitz, okay. I just remember grilling her. I want to see someone that I could communicate with. I ask a lot of questions. I don't mean to be pushy, but I'm the first, child. Basically newlyweds. I want to be able to get someone to answer their questions. And she said, I know the right person for me. A guy by the name of Mark Fowler. He's willing to see you all the way through the process. Gotta do something. Because Mark Fowler became our knight in shining armor in that regard. He was there for us every step of the way. Now, I don't know how you operate. You are the doctors I'm talking to. And I don't know your experiences for everyone else in here. But Dr. Fowler was the only doctor that we've ever had that gave us his pager number, his cell phone number, his beeper number, his phone number, and any other way that we wanted to reach out to him to stay in contact. He gave it to us. Now, this is definitely for all the other doctors out there. He made us feel like we were his most important patient. I know, being a little more educated in the business and everything, that's not possible for us to be his only patient, but he made us feel special all the way through. August 26, 1998, about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Ellis, my oldest son, kicking frantically, trying to wake Caryn up. Happenstance or divine intervention. She wakes up. Let me pause for a second. Let me jump back to the evening before. August 25th, that evening. Now, we're just about 5 months or 25 weeks pregnant at this time. Caryn's 25 weeks pregnant. We hadn't even gone through the hospital procedure to see what a NICU looks like and even talk about it and get the tour of the hospital or anything like that. I was worked late getting ready for trial, and Caryn happens to be in pain and not be able to sleep, sits up and watches a TV show. The TV show had to do with preemies. She saw this show, so she had an idea of what a preemie looked like by looking at this show. Jump back to this August 26th that morning. 4:30, 5 o'clock sometime, she gets up, she wakes me up saying something's wrong. He's kicking a lot. I was like, well, that's what they're supposed to do, right? She goes to the bathroom and she notices a spot of blood. So what does any young new captain in the Army do at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning? Pick up the phone and call your doctor. Not unless you're Donald Trump or something. But because Mark Fowler has a heart of gold, she was able to call him. He answered the phone or call back. I'm not sure whether we paged or called, but he responded like that. He says, Caryn, okay, it's probably nothing, but come on in and see me. I'll meet you at the hospital. Now, during that time, I was nursing an injury, and 15 minutes later, I've been up trying to get to the gym. Because I get ready for trial, I want to be in the gym on the machine by 5:30. But it happened just before. Happenstance or divine intervention. You make the call. I was there. After that call, she says, okay, let's go in. Like, okay. She calls the hospital, they tell her, well, we're really busy, this, that, and the other. You can't really come in now. And Caryn said, Dr. Fowler told me to come in. Okay, well, come on in. But they tell her, go through a certain door because of some force protection, security measures. Go through the main door at Bethesda. Don't go through any of the other doors because they're locked and closed. Okay, Caryn gets up, a lot of blood at that point. Something's really wrong. She calls Dr. Fowler back. He answers the phone and says, you may not have time to come in to Bethesda. Go to the nearest hospital. Caryn calls the nearest hospital. They say, oh yeah, we have an emergency room, but we don't have a NICU. Caryn tells me they don't have a NICU. And I'm like, they don't have a what? Remember, I hadn't gone through the educational process yet. They don't have a what? She says, I want to go to Dr. Fowler. My grandmother has an expression, God takes care of babies and fools. Call it luck, happenstance, divine intervention. I didn't know any better. We didn't know any better. We called Dr. Fowler back and saying, we're coming to you. I'm actually, those little portable phones. I'm running down the steps of the apartment, carrying the phone, and just relying on the fact that the connection will work as we're going down the steps. Get in the car. Picture this. I don't know if any of you have ever been to the Washington, D.C. area. What's the first thing you think of on a business day morning? Happenstance or divine intervention that Ellis started kicking at about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. By the time all this is going, it's about 5:30, 5:45, just before the traffic really gets there. Nonetheless, I run every light. I get to the hospital. We go through the door. As we get out of the car, Caryn says, oh, that door is locked. We have to go all the way around. We walk, the door opens. The doors weren't supposed to be open. Happenstance, luck, or divine intervention. Caryn's saying, I can't walk anymore. We start walking through there's a bridge or overpass that connects the garage to the hospital. We start going through. I can't walk anymore. I pick her up and I start carrying her. Oh man, I forgot about my knee injury. So I'm limping, trying to cross the Lance, you gotta make it, okay? Something's wrong. Your wife is bleeding. You're carrying her, okay? Get across to the other side. Happenstance or divine intervention. On the left-hand side as we cross the bridge. Under a recessed light, So that means it's shining down like this. What do I see? A wheelchair. Okay? Happens cancer divine intervention. I literally drop Caryn in a wheelchair because she screams. I'll never forget it. I go racing around to the elevator. Okay? She's holding on because I'm freaking out now. Get to that elevator. I come up. The bell rings. We go off. As soon as I round the corner, who do I see? Man with a heart of gold. I don't know about you, but I had never had a doctor that did what he did and was there for us like this man. Excuse me. Never before and never since. He was standing there telling us to come this way. I don't know, he must have heard the elevator bleep. No one was really moving in the hospital because now it's about 10 after 6, maybe, because I did drive like a maniac. Or maybe 6:15, I don't even know. We get there, Mark says, come right in. We go in, he gets her on the table, and does what doctors do, but that was the first time that I knew something was wrong. Okay, God takes care of babies and fools. I didn't know. Okay, what I did, in hindsight, was probably foolish. He looks, I see his eyes go, whoa. Now, you'll have to explain the medical stuff. All I've heard through the years is membranes on a foot and all kind of things. All I knew something was wrong. Okay? And then I was like, oh wow. I gotta figure out how to tell Caryn, and I think we're losing Ellis. Mark gets up, and everyone's scurrying around, and then Mark comes and he puts his hand on my shoulder and said, your wife is having a baby. I look at him, like, I mean, having a baby. Can't be having a baby now. I mean, we've still got a long way to go. We're only 25 weeks. He says, she's having a baby, and we have to take her now. Okay, so I turn around for a second and say, okay, what do I tell Caryn? I turn back around, Caryn's gone. Everyone's running everywhere. They're racing her down the hallway. Mark says, with the heart of gold, trying to know this is your first child. Maybe there's a way for me to get you in here, or maybe not. And he says, we'll see, just come down here and we'll see about bringing you in. When I get down there, they say, no, can't come in because what they call, you guys know this, crash cesarean section or C-section. Mark comes to me and looks at me, knowing the gravity of the situation, but never once let me know how bad it was. Just said, well, I'll take care of her. Because I looked at him, I said, whatever you do. I remember hearing stories in the past about, sometimes it's either the mother or the child, and this, and so I was like, whatever you do, take care of Caryn. He said, don't worry, Lance, we'll take care of Caryn. So when I say, how do you pay tribute to a man who is putting his hand on my shoulder and saying, I will take care of her. Okay, how do I say thank you? How do I really truly appreciate what he did? Because I don't know how long later, but I saw them wheel something I had never seen before, a little pink thing. Come out and go this way. Then they wheel my wife out and go that way, and I'm standing in the middle, wondering, what do I do next? But then there again was Mark Fowler with his heart of gold saying, Caryn's gonna be okay. Now I didn't understand whether or not he said she lost a lot of blood, did lose a lot of blood, and years later I found out placental abruption, she was bleeding to death, Ellis was losing oxygen. He can tell you all the medical stuff. All I know is he came to me and said, Caryn's gonna be okay. Now we gotta worry about Ellis, okay? But it goes beyond that. Happenstance, luck or divine intervention. A couple of days later, I'm walking through the hospital with my father. We see a guy gathering wheelchairs, collecting them up. And I said, oh, wow, what do you know with the wheelchairs? He says, oh, every night we gather them and we lock them down on the second floor. We put them all down on the second floor. All I could say is, wow, thank God you forgot one the other night. Happenstance or divine intervention. I had no idea to take care of all the wheelchairs and put them on. And I mentioned that door was supposed to be locked. I didn't find that out until later. About a week or two later, Caryn doing one of those walks to the hospital, find out that someone said, wow, one of the scariest moments we've ever had around here in a while. She's like, what do you mean? He said, oh man, we almost lost you both. He sees us basically, freak out. He goes, oh, no one told you? He said, no. And the reason why no one told us up until that point is because this man has a heart of gold. He knew we were not ready to know that. Wow. Our son was fighting for his life. She was still actively recovering. He didn't put anything more on us than we could handle at that time. He kept that to himself, knowing how close we came, or I came to losing my whole family in one morning. But this doctor blurted it out that way. Time Ellis was in the hospital, 100 some odd days. Finally came home at 4 pounds, 4 ounces. I made this mistake, and Dr. Fowler corrected me several years ago when he was there for so much of everything that we went through. He was coming to check on us, coming to check on Ellis, just being a part of us so much that I gave him credit for helping get Ellis out of the NICU one time. He said, no. I delivered and then I passed him off to the NICU. That wasn't my job. But he became a part of us during that time. During those days in the hospital, Allison and Ann were praying for us, drawing pictures for us to put in the NICU, praying for, I think it was baby Ellis. Caryn and I were over his house. I don't know, I've never had a doctor do this before, and I don't know what your practice will be or is. And I don't know how many of you have had doctors bring you to their house for dinner. Go out to dinner with your family. My brother, when I told him I was being asked to come down here for Dr. Fowler's retirement, he said, oh wow, too bad I couldn't make it also. My dad, who passed a few years ago, would never let a birthday or a Christmas or a holiday season pass without saying, knowing about Ellis, saying, hey, when's the last time you heard from Dr. Fowler? Please tell him I said hi. Okay. He became a part of us. When I tell you that he lived every blip, every cramp, every pain with us, he lived it the whole time. Okay? How do you pay tribute to someone like that at a momentous occasion such as this? You don't. All you can say is thank you. I would not be here. I would not have a family. Okay, if it wasn't for Dr. Fowler and him allowing God to work magic through him. Believe it or not, and I apologize for taking so much time, but bear with me. It didn't stop there. About a year and a half later, we know that Caryn had the fibroids. She said, we'll have children one day. I want Dr. Fowler to perform the surgery. So we arranged with Dr. Fowler. Of course, he goes in, performs the surgery. But it's not so much that he's a great surgeon, he's a great doctor, I understand. But it's the compassion, it's the heart of gold. The next day, some report came back with a blip on the screen for Caryn. She needed to go down for a CAT scan for something in her lung, pulmonary embolism, or something that came up awkward. Most doctors, all the doctors that I've had experiences with, call in a report, somebody takes you down and the med, the report or whatever it's called comes back to you. Not Dr. Fowler. He comes to the room. He gets a wheelchair. He comes in. He gets Caryn in the wheelchair. I'm there, my dad is there, my mother-in-law is there. I mean, not my mother-in-law, my stepmom is there. Because they came to watch Ellis during the day of the service, the day after Ellis is there, I believe. Now about 1.5 years old. He, no orderly or no one else pushes her. He pushes her through the hospital, down to the exam room where they do the test. He helps get her in, get it set up. I don't know how he did this, because I know he has other rounds and all that other stuff to do, but he's there because he has a heart of gold. And it's not so much the surgery or anything like it, it's just watching him actively engaged. I don't know anybody that does that, but someone like Mark Fowler. Through God's blessing, everything turned out okay. And we are here today because I want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And at this time, I'd like to go ahead and introduce you to Ellis. Ellis, stand up. This is that Dr. Fowler saved that morning. Who is now going to come up. Now, you understand, and bear with me one more second. Initially, they said you may not walk, may not talk. You know, it's going to be educationally delayed. It's going to be all these other medical issues, and the doctors here know all about it. And anyone that knows with someone born 25 weeks, 1 pound, 12 ounces, 14 years ago, viability, you know, improves every year through technology and everything. But back then, it was still touch and go. Divine intervention, luck, or happenstance. You make the call. But Ellis is going to play something for you, Doc. Just let you know what you mean to the Hamilton family. And there's no way that we could ever repay you, or I could never repay you for what you gave me. And I thank you. Okay, that is all the best tribute I can give you, is by just saying thank you for being the great man, the great doctor, and the great person you are. Thank you.